Fantasy Football Tips Podcast with Mills, JP, Quigliano, and Cliff.
Hi, you're listening to the FantasyFootballTips.co podcast in association with Premier Punt. My name's Mills, and this week I'm joined by Quigliano for a special double-header Gameweek 16 and Gameweek 17 podcast. Quigliano, how are you?
Excellent, mate. Very good. A little bit tired. You know, the new stresses of fatherhood are taking its toll, but Quigliano Jr. is already making waves in the management. There's rumours of a takeover bid of JP's team. An official bid was made. You're aware of that, aren't you?
Yes, I mean he may well get an invite onto the podcast soon. At this rate, JP missing again this week.
Again, yeah. I mean the bid was one dirty nappy, and apparently the board are quite convinced and maybe going to have a clear out of JP in terms of his management as well, because he is dreadful this season.
Yeah, I must admit, seeing the image that you sent the proposal on was it was a sight for sore eyes, I've got to say. But
more than generous. A lot of people are saying that maybe too much was bid there. JP's team doesn't deserve it.
Maybe it's he's down there at the bottom, isn't he? So JP missing this evening. Apparently, he's gone to watch some ice hockey. Thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, a bit more information might be needed. Who's he gone with? An ice hockey game? That sounds very, very date-ish to me. That doesn't sound the type of thing like he normally do with his mates. It smells like he's trying to impress someone, but I could be wrong.
Could well be. And no Cliff this evening either. So just me and thee tonight, Quigliano. But I think that's it's got a nice nostalgic feel to it. That has so lots coming up on the show tonight.
Yeah, look, early Christmas present for some people. So put that one in your stocking.
Indeed, and as it is a double header this week, this is potentially going to be the last one we do before Christmas. So we'll just keep your ears out for that. It's unusual for us to be doing a Sunday evening podcast. It almost feels a bit odd. Probably the 2 glasses of wine I had earlier today are not going to help me on this either. But I didn't want to break with my usual Sunday tradition.
Well, you did just confess off air that you've already made your transfer for this week yesterday. After a few beers as well, mate.
That is very true. There's perhaps a worrying theme going there, and it's probably more to do with my lifestyle than FPL. But yeah, I did make my transfer early, and we'll come on to that later. But enough about my lifestyle and JP's lifestyle. Let's get on with some tips quickly on us. This is how it's going to work. We're going to look at Game Week 16 in the first half of the pod, and then we're going to go into Podcast Extra where we're going to talk Game Week 17. So a break with the usual traditions there. But we are going to have Steal or No Deal coming up later, and we'll fit that in on the standard pod for the fans that have been loving that. So Quigliano, let's get straight in with the Gary of the Week for Game Week 16.
I think there's multiple options. Very, very tempting game week this week. I think this is going to be Quigliano's breakout game week of the season. So you heard it here first. The Gary of the week this week, you can't ignore his form, and I'm afraid there was plenty of options, but I'm going for Diego Costa. I think I watched the game today, and people are saying he's looking like the Costa that joined at the start of his first season in the Premier League, and I think they're right. You know, he didn't do much, but still managed to get himself a goal. They go to Sunderland. It is away, but I just think Chelsea look unstoppable right now, and I think you can't ignore Diego.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, agree with that 100%. I saw a stat actually today that said Diego Costa was one of the most clinical strikers in the league. I think he's converted something like 4 of his last 6 chances in the league in terms of shots and goals. So it's a good shout, and it does look like the Sunderland revival has been well and truly halted with that defeat at Swansea. So it doesn't make for good reading for Sunderland fans this weekend, I don't think. And like we said, you know, Diego Costa, by the way, was my captain pick for last week on FantasyFootballTips.co. And he's almost a no-brainer because every single week, pretty much, he's either getting a goal or an assist or both. So yeah, and I think this could well be a week where he gets the double. So I think that's a really good Gary. But there are other options, aren't there, Quigliano, like you say?
There are, mate. I mean, you lost me there. You just started rambling on and on and on, and I was like, oh, is he going to stop? But you've stopped now. So the long shot is Dele Alli this week. Not that long, you might think, because they've got a very good fixture in Hull. But I think that the obvious ones are Kane and Ericsson probably in that team. But I think Dele Alli this week is going to be the one that picks up the most points out of that midfield. Got that feeling in my gut. I'm calling it. Dele Alli long shot. There you go.
Okay. I mean, I'm going to go with Ericsson personally on that. Not as a long shot, but just out of the two of them. And that
we've
was
got the side tips yet.
We'll go to side tips. But that was my. I'm not going to say drunken transfer, but that was my transfer in last night, which was very brave considering he was still yet to play this game week. So, but I do think Ericsson's going to have a good one, and Dele Alli could also have a good game week too. So let's have a look at your dealer for this week.
Well, it's a fairly obvious one in terms of a Man City player that costs a hell of a lot of money, so you could take your pick of them. But John Stones, okay, at 4.9 million, he should be an absolute bargain and in everyone's team, because Man City, challenging for the Premier League, should be focusing on picking up clean sheets. But he has done anything but that, and that Man City defence is hideous. So I'm calling you out, John Stones. I know you listen to the show. I know this is going to be... It's going to feel like a Chinese burn right now, but you need to respond. Where are you? Let's be having you.
I mean, just generally as well, the City defence, I mean, it was horrific, wasn't it, against Leicester? And, I mean, Jamie Vardy, who hasn't scored all season, gets a hat-trick. So, it was dreadful. I mean, they even changed their system after about the first 10 minutes. I mean, I think they had to. But does Pep really know what he's doing in terms of... Is it Pep's fault or is it the defender's fault? I
mean, I don't think it's Pep's fault. I think bad day at the office. You've got to write them off. You could lose 16-0. It's only one game that you've lost. He does need to fix it very quickly. Not having a decent striker in reserve other than Aguero, I think, is affecting them as well.
Yeah, but surely they should have enough. I mean, they've got plenty in there. I mean, just on that, you said should be in everyone's team. Stones is actually in 22.6% of teams, which is unbelievable to me.
I mean, probably a lot of those aren't playing anymore, but also, he's a bargain. You'd think it's one of those where you're holding out and you're going, I'm not going to check. This is the week that they're going to come good. And he just hasn't come good. So, yeah, well, I've called him out. He probably will come good now, and he'll probably go on a 10-game run of clean sheets because the humiliation is too much.
Okay, probably get a goal as well. So let's go on to those side tips then, Quigliano.
Right, so side tips. Plenty, as I said, this is the game week. This is going to be high scoring. I just wanted to jinx it so it's not. But look at a few forwards first. Okay, I think there's a lot of good, attractive fixtures. Origi of Liverpool, decent fixture, scored again today. Think he's an option. Kane cannot be ignored. And if you haven't got him, I think you're going to be very, very nervous with them playing at home at Hull, against Hull, sorry. I also think Rondon can't be ignored because they've got Swansea. I know they've managed to keep a clean sheet, but it isn't exactly a tight ship there. So I would fancy Albion to come away with some goals there.
Yeah, I would.
And also, if you're really desperate, I think Ibra could pick you up some points against Palace, but he is a bit pricey.
Okay. Thoughts on anything from West Ham? They've got a home fixture against Burnley. Or are you not fancying
that was I just bunched those into strikers. So as we move down them into the midfield, I think with Mkhitaryan potentially injured, Mata comes back and is an option. Palace aren't keeping many clean sheets, so I think Man United, you might be tempted by some of those players this week. I mean, would you be bold enough to take Pogba? I think also in midfield, you've got to have Ericsson as an option if you're not going with Dele Alli. Sigurdsson can't be ignored at Swansea. And also Payet is down as a side tip because I think, that is a decent fixture for West Ham. I just don't really trust them. I don't think they're that reliable. I think Burnley will try and go there and muscle them.
Okay. Is that the side tips wrapped up, Quigliano? I think that's a pretty comprehensive roundup.
It is very comprehensive. I think there's a couple of options elsewhere. I think Alonso of Chelsea looks decent because he's not only is he getting those clean sheet like points, he's also getting forward a lot more. And I think he's somebody that offers you just that little bit extra, almost like Eric Dyer was last season because he was playing midfield. You've always had that chance that he's further up the pitch, therefore more likely to get an assist or a goal. So I think Alonso at Chelsea has to be an option. They have got good fixtures. I'd be looking to get him in my team, that's for sure.
Okay, and just before we go to a break, Quigliano, we're going to have some questions later, but just a little teaser here from a new follower on Twitter, Luke Arnold, and he was actually asking JP this question, but it's going to have to go to you. He wants a tip, not FPL though. He wants to know whether to go to the boat, the White Hart, or the Spread Eagle for a jar.
Well, firstly, I'll say, hey Arnold, just a little joke there. I hope he hasn't got a football head, but he's missed out the main one, the Littleton Arms. Okay, he's given me 3, and I've slapped him round the face and said, get yourself down to the Littleton Arms instead of those.
Okay, might see JP there. It's in his hometown. So, yeah, I mean, surely, there's a boat, a White Hart, and a Spread Eagle, in every town in England, surely. But, yeah, so the Littleton Arms, Luke, is the one to go for. And I'm sure we'll have lots of questions on Twitter about what is a jar. This week it was what is mulled wine. That was from Nick's Tricks.
Are you going to answer that?
Well, I've answered him on Twitter, but Quigliano, you might be able to give a more fuller answer to that question.
I want you to answer it. It was directed at you, mate. I've missed this mulled wine talk. It's just basically warmed up wine, isn't it?
That is exactly what I said. I simply replied, hot wine. Hot wine, a Christmas drink in the UK. So lots of drinks-based questions coming in on Twitter at the moment. It was orange squash a few weeks ago. This week it's mulled wine. So.
I mean, sometimes when I reflect as this is progressing, as we're actually doing this live, I sometimes think, yeah, maybe we do need some extra people because this is... Look what we've sunk to, just the two of us.
Talking about mulled wine. Brilliant. So more intriguing questions like that straight after this break.
You are listening to Mills and Quigliano on the FantasyFootballTips.co podcast. Sponsored by Premier Punt. All your fantasy Premier League tips in one juicy little podcast. Get in touch at www.fantasyfootballtips.co.
Okay, Quigliano. So you're not happy with that first part of the podcast then?
If anything, it felt a bit rushed. This Sunday evening vibe is... It's affecting my mojo, but it won't be affecting the tips. Okay, so if I rush through any of that, just know that there's quality in there. There's one I didn't bring up actually, and I think this is more of a question. Do you think with Iheanacho's poor performance, getting hauled off on 58 minutes, that Nolito has a chance of maybe starting up front for City?
Yeah, I think he potentially does. I put Iheanacho in my team this week, which killed me. Because the other options all pretty much scored. But yeah, Nolito is a good chance. Sterling is one that's probably sort of... He's just coming back from injury, so he could come back in, but he's a risk. So Nolito, yeah, I mean, he proved himself, didn't he, last weekend? So I think that's a pretty decent little side tip. So ready for some questions, Quigliano?
Fire them across.
I mean, I know you did seem rushed. What is it you want to watch on TV tonight? Sunday night telly?
Already watched it. Done my catch up on Westworld, so the season finale there.
I've already watched it, my friend. So I didn't know you were watching that. So we'll might talk about that later. It's,
join us for our second podcast that we do, and that is when we review box set to box set. It's called Box to Box Midfielder.
Like it. Okay, this one comes from, this is a question on Twitter, Hadi Dawani, and he wants to know, he said he's got Amat, but he needs extra cash for Payet. Which Swansea defender is more likely to play the next few game weeks? Strange question, that one.
Roll the dice.
Amat's had a bit of a run, hasn't he?
Yeah, and they've kept 2 clean sheets while he's been playing.
Yeah.
I'm just having a look now, that is a lie. But he's played 4 in a row now. He's the same price as Kingsley, and by the look of it, he's getting more game time. So at 4.1 million, he has to be probably the favourite.
Yeah, I mean, when I first read that, I read it before Payet's goal today, and to be honest, before I'd really properly looked at the fixtures for the next 2 games for West Ham, and I thought, why would you even want to do that? But looking at the fixtures and the fact that Payet scored today, potentially it could be a good move to bring him in. So I think they've got Burnley and then Hull, both home games. So we'll see. Sushant's been on.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, it has. And he wants to know, and this one, I don't know what you'll think on this one, Quigliano. Negredo to Carroll and Francis to David Luiz for -4.
I probably like it. I think I told you before I wasn't a fan of the Negredo shout. I think he did pop up and score that game week
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Just to prove me wrong. But let me just see how much game time Carroll's got. I've got the old computer.
He's just come back from injury, hasn't he? So he came on today and got into a bit of a scuffle, didn't he?
He's had 18 minutes against Arsenal and he's had 28 minutes against Liverpool. No, I don't like that at all. I mean, that's a tip in itself. You've raised something there. There is no point transferring in gambles, because if you're going to take a -4, you want to be 100% sure that he's going to be starting. And I don't think you can be 100% sure that Carroll is going to start. That's why I didn't go for Origi the week before. I made sure that he was going to be in that team before I put him in. So yes, I missed out on a goal, but I wanted to be more certain that he was going to be starting that for Liverpool.
I mean, I will just say that Sushant sent this question 8 hours ago, and last time, an hour later, he sent me one saying he'd already made the transfer. So the chances are that he's already done that transfer anyway. So we'll see.
I doubt he will. I doubt he will have done it on the Sabbath. He knows this is Quigliano's day. So,
fair enough.
I doubt he will have.
It did sound like you were milking a cow then at one point. Was everything okay in the Quigliano household?
It's just a little side project that I've got going on. So yeah,
male breastfeeding. No?
Well, no, actually, there's a cow in the kitchen with me, and I'm milking it. Yeah, so just saving a bit of money on milk. So what's your problem?
Okay. I mean, you've left me flabbergasted and speechless there. Let's move on. This one is from H1A1, and again a new follower. Does the West Bromwich Albion versus Swansea have a 0-0 draw written all over it? I know you're not a fan of predicting results, Quigliano, so it's probably not the best question for you, but just quick thoughts on that. It's a tough one, because we've seen how West Brom shut up shop, but then also look at the Burnley game, and you might have said the same, and they destroyed Burnley. The
answer to that is no. The clean sheets are hard to come by at the minute. I think there's only Chelsea that I would feel very confident that they're going to do it. So I don't think that's got 0-0 written over it. I've said Rondon's going to pop up. I've tipped Siggy, so I highly doubt it. The only team I'd probably be willing to put money in at the minute is Chelsea when it comes to defence. Other than that, strip it down to the bare bones and get some attacking midfielders and some guaranteed goal scorers up front.
Yeah, agree with that. And then one final question, Quigliano, before we go into steal or no deal. And that is, again, from Luke Arnold, who we featured at the start. This is an FPL question. When do each of the tipsters plan to use their triple captain chip? I think that's a good question. It's something we've not really touched on too much this season. We talked a bit about wildcards earlier in the season. Not long to use your wildcard, by the way, if you haven't used that yet. So get that used before the end of 2016. But in terms of the triple captain, is it a case of the double game weeks that, hopefully will come later in the season? Or is there any way you can justify an earlier use of that? For you? No, I'll answer that as well.
Well, I mean, it depends what your approach is. We play Manager of the Month. So again, if you're chasing down the month... then, it might be something you want to guarantee some money. We have a pot of money, don't we? So it's worthwhile maybe sometimes winning that month, because you might think, well, I'm not going to win the league. I'm bottom, so I might as well try and just win this month. So, for example, you've got Spurs at home to Hull. I'd maybe fancy a triple captain on Kane there. That's fixture's good. Something tells me Kane's going to do well. You might stick your neck out, but realistically, anyone who wants to try and win their mini league is going to need to use that triple captain on a double game week. The same way that we learnt last season, or I learnt last season, you use your bench boost on a double game week as well. And if you've really been patient and tactical, you've probably played your wild card the game week before to maximise your bench boost or the game week after, just so you can get as many players in on that double game week.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I like that. I think it's probably exactly the same for me. For me, the one thing I would say is that with the mini league, it would always be on the last game of the month for me if I was to do that. I would never do it sort of on a, this game week, for example. It would be the last one. If I was in either pole position or in with a shout, very, very close to winning that month. So, which generally doesn't happen for me. So,
someone in another group that I'm in, another WhatsApp group. So sorry to let you know, there are friends outside of
it's
this
disappointing
group,
to know, Quigliano.
But he's played it today with Costa. I mean, he's dropped lucky in the end, but 18 points.
It's nothing.
I made reference. Oh, sorry, no. How many will he have got?
He'll get 2 bonus points, I think. But yeah, it's not.
I think he got 28 points, and I said last season I think I ended up with 78 points off Sanchez alone. So it's worth holding out.
Yeah, so hold out for the second half of the season. At this stage, anyway, is probably the tip there. Okay, Quigliano, we're going to pretty much wrap up the standard pod. We just want to go in quickly with the steal or no deal then. This was going to fall to Cliff until he let us down at the last minute. So have you got one lined up for us?
We've got one lined up. I mean, firstly, I just want to say again, what a great idea this was of yours, Mills.
Thank you.
Shame JP's not bringing anything to the table. But it's Llorente at Swansea. 6.1. I mean, we did have a little chat. I mean, you've asked the question, have I got anything lined up? You know full well we've got something lined up. So you've played dumb for no reason there, Mills. But Llorente, we said this is posing more questions because at 6.1, is it the absolute? Is that a steal when you maybe could get Origi at 6.5, Iheanacho at 6.6?
Personally, I think it is a steal. When you consider he scored 4 goals and got an assist in the last 3 games, that's a steal.
Okay, well, we're going to double up on this actually because I've just triggered some interest. So, steal or no deal, Llorente. What are you saying?
It's a steal. It's a steal, and I'm going to deal.
Yeah, you're going to take the dealer's offer. I'd probably back you on that actually. He's a wily old fox, and I think it's not the worst fixture in the world. Form's not bad. It's probably a steal. It's probably a steal.
It is a steal. It's a tough fixture this week, is what you would say. They then follow that up with an away trip to Middlesbrough, which again, Borough have been not conceding a great amount of goals, so not the easiest 2 fixtures, but is in decent form, and in decent form despite not having a good run of game time. And I think he's got to get that run of game time now, and I think he will do in those next 2 games. So for me, it's a steal, and it would have been much better for me to have done that prior to the last game week than put Iheanacho in. So if only we'd have recorded this podcast last week.
Wasn't available? Sorry, mate.
No, it was sort of. Schedules didn't align, did they, for us, which was unfortunate. Right, Quigliano, we're going to end the standard pod there. We're going to be talking Game Week 17 in the podcast extra. We're also going to be talking our personal captain picks for Game Week 16 in that podcast extra. What
if you haven't got a podcast extra?
Well, I was just going to say, so thanks for setting me up there, Quigliano. The illusion of the podcast unveiled again there.
Tap in, mate. Tap it in.
I'll tap it away. Thank you. So go to fantasyfootballtips.co and click on sign up to premium membership, and for £12, just 12 little pound coins, you can sign up for 12 months worth of membership. So that'll get you pretty much halfway through next season as well. I mean, what a bargain.
I was about to say there, is it not a pro rata basis? But
no,
I suppose, if you're offering just the whole thing.
It's 12 months from when you sign up, so get yourself on fantasyfootballtips.co and sign up as a member, and you get that plus all the premium articles as well. So what a deal. Now that is a deal. And a steal. So there you go. Right, we'll be back with the podcast extra straight after this. Otherwise, we will see you next time.
Ta-ra.
It's time to go deep. It's time for the podcast extra.